the dead of winter. The cold inside their home had become a living thing, pressing against the walls and seeping through every crack.
George, we can't last another night like this. Thomas's lips are blue.
The boy coughed again, a shallow, rasping sound that cut deeper than the frost.
I've been thinking. There is a way to keep this house warm without buying more coal.
What way? We have no firewood left, and the coal is nearly gone.
We attach the house to the forge. The work fire burns all day anyway. Its heat will pass through the wall.
You want to live inside the forge? The smoke alone will kill us.
Not inside. Beside it. I'll build a proper flue and seal the cracks. Trust me.
And if it smokes us out? Or burns us in our beds?
George did not answer with words. He picked up his hammer and stepped back into the forge, where the fire still glowed, ready to build the wall that would join their lives to the flame. For days, the sound of George's hammer echoed through the frozen valley as the frame of the new addition slowly rose from the snow.
Won't let the cold take another night from us. Not one more.
Across the town, the rhythmic hammering drew not just attention, but derision.
So Reeves plans to turn his forge into a cookhouse. He'll roast his family alive before winter's end.
They think we're mad. Every day I see the looks.
Why are they laughing at us, Ma?
Hush, Thomas. They simply don't understand what your father is building.
George worked on, the roar of the forge and the bite of the wind his only companions.
George, the whole town is calling you a fool.
And by week's end, the new wall stood, rough, unfinished, but rising while the valley watched and waited for the fire that might prove them all right. Within a week, the final board was nailed and the flue sealed tight. The forge and house now shared a single, long stone wall.
Ada, the moment of truth. I'll stoke the fire.
He fed the coals until the forge roared hotter than it had all winter. Slowly, the stone on the other side began to warm.
It's warm. Ma, the wall is warm.
Warmth without a fireplace. I didn't think it possible. It's holding. But George, what if the fire gets too hot?
Outside, Harold's whispers grew louder, his warnings darker.
Mark my words, that wall will crack and smoke will pour in while they sleep.
That night, while the town slept in the cold, the forge fire still glowed, its warmth seeping into every corner of the Reeves home.
But if the fire never dies, will we ever truly sleep again?
3 days later, a blizzard buried the valley. Outside, the wind howled like a pack of wolves.
The warmth is a blessing, but that constant crackling, it never stops.
A stray spark shot from the forge flew and landed on a wooden beam above the wall, a wisp of smoke rising.
George, something's burning.
George tore off his leather apron and smothered the ember, his hands steady even as Ada trembled behind him.
That is it. I want this wall torn down tomorrow.
Number. I can reseal the flue. It was a random spark, not the design.
You said it was safe. How can I trust you with our son's life?
You can trust that without this wall, we will all freeze. Now, help me check the flue.
The wall remained standing, but the silence that settled between them was colder than the storm raging outside. The thaw came, and with it, a new trial. The forge fire now made their home a furnace.
George, this house is worse than a baker's oven. We can't breathe.
Must find a way to bleed this heat off before the summer kills us.
He propped open the forge doors and rigged a canvas flap, but it did little to stir the stifling air.
Your wall doesn't know the difference between winter and summer. We need a separate fireplace.
A separate fireplace means double the fuel. We just need a proper vent, not another chimney.
Reeves built himself a sweat lodge. Even his chickens are laying hard-boiled eggs.
Ma, I feel sick. Why is it so hot in here?
Rest, child. Your father will fix it.
But for all his tinkering, George could not master summer's heat. Every vent only seemed to pull more fire into the rooms. It came to George in the middle of a sweltering night, a sluice like the watermills used to force the heat up and out.
If I can channel the draft, the heat will vent before it ever touches the wall.
By the end of the week, the flue was installed. A copper pipe running from the forge fire to the outside, carrying summer's excess heat away.
It's actually cool in here. I'd forgotten what that felt like.
I can run again.
For the first time in months, laughter echoed through the house. Instead of argument, but outside their walls, a different kind of heat was building. Rumors of a fuel shortage that would cripple the valley before the next frost.
George, have you heard? The mines say coal might be rationed by autumn. We barely survived last winter, with coal bought cheap. If it's gone, that wall might be our only hope.
And so, as summer waned, the despised wall became the one thing they could not afford to lose. One autumn night, the copper flue, strained by months of expansion and contraction, finally cracked, and a fevered ember slipped through. The ember landed on a dry beam beside the wall, and smoke began to curl into the room.
George, wake up. The wall is on fire.
George rushed in, grabbed a bucket of sand, and smothered the flames before they could spread.
That's it. I won't have my son sleep in a tinderbox. The wall must come down.
Ada, the flue can be repaired. The wall is sound. It just needs a new pipe.
Number. Your blueprints can't keep us safe. I've had enough.
By morning, word of the Reeves near fire had spread through the town like soot through air.
Didn't I say that Forge Hearth would be the death of them? Madness, pure madness.
The wall stood, but George now faced a fire he could not douse, his wife's fear and a town that had abandoned all sympathy. 10 days later, the fuel shortage was no longer a rumor. Coal rations were posted, and the valley fell into a brittle silence.
Can't even forge a plowshare now. Every lump of coal must go to the house fire.
I heard from Martha that the town council is going to condemn the wall. They say it's a danger to everyone.
They have no right. The wall is sound. I won't let fear dictate our lives.
This is what happens when a smith thinks he's an architect. Shut it down before it kills us all.
The following morning, a formal notice was nailed to the forge door. By order of the council, the connecting wall must be dismantled within 7 days.
7 days. They're giving me 7 days to choose between freezing and lawbreaking.
Maybe they're right. We can take a loan and buy fuel like everyone else.
Number. I'll fight this. If I can prove the wall is safe, they'll have to withdraw the order.
As the council's deadline loomed, the first snow of winter began to fall, a silent, heavy reminder of what was at stake. The Reeves' home became a battleground. The council's order pinned to the door, Ada's ultimatum echoing through the cold rooms.
I've decided. If that wall isn't down by the deadline, I'm taking Thomas to my mother's.
Ada, you'd leave me? Over a wall that's kept us alive.
It won't keep us alive if it burns us in our sleep. Choose, George.
The hearing was set for the 6th day. George spent every remaining hour reinforcing the flue, polishing his argument. But at the town hall, Harold sat with the councilmen, his whispers turning every fact into doubt.
He claims it's safe, but his own wife fears it. What more proof do you need?
George demonstrated the flue, the heat flow, the seal. The room stayed cold and unconvinced. On the way home, Thomas stopped shivering and looked up at his father, his small voice cutting through the wind.
Papa, why do they want to take our fire away?
Because they're afraid, son. Fear makes men tear down the very things that keep them alive.
When they reached the forge, a second notice had been nailed beneath the first. Apiel denied. Wall must be dismantled by sunset tomorrow. Fines and fuel confiscation for delay.
There's nothing more we can do. I'll start packing.
Number, I won't tear it down. They can find me, confiscate the coal. I'll burn scrap wood if I have to.
But Papa, we need coal for the forge. How will we make money if they take it?
Even as they argued, a new edict was being posted in the square. To conserve the dwindling coal, all household fires were to be limited to 2 hours each night. Now the Reeves stood at the center of an impossible equation. Tear down the wall and freeze, or keep it and break the law twice over.
George, please. If they see us ignoring the order, they'll take everything. We'll lose the forge.
Then let them take it. I'd rather lose the forge than lose my family to the cold.
And beyond the snow, the first family in the valley ran out of coal entirely, their hearth going cold as the wind began to shriek. By midnight, The temperature plunged so low that window glass crackled. One by one, the valley's lights winked out, every hearth, save one.
George, it's the only warm house left in the valley. That wall you built might be the only thing standing between us and the grave.
A frantic knock splintered the silence. At the door stood Elias Caro, his face ravaged by frost, his coat barely a shield.
Reeves, my Mary can't feel her feet. I've got no coal, no wood. I'll trade anything. Just let us sit near your fire.
They'd have torn this wall down a week ago. Now they want its warmth. Still, it's Mary.
They may have wronged us, but they're not our enemies. Open the door, George.
Come in, bring your wife. The fire will hold a few more.
The forge that had been condemned as a death trap now became a sanctuary. The old couple huddled near the embers, life returning to their limbs, word spread as fast as the cold. By morning, more haggard faces appeared at the Reeves' door, their empty coal buckets dangling like silent accusations. And in that moment, George understood. The real test wasn't the wall. It was whether he could bear the weight of a whole freezing town depending on his fire. By noon, the forge floor was covered with shivering bodies. George fed the fire with timber from his own workshop rafters, the crackle of ancient wood mixing with the coughs of the cold.
George, you are burning our roof timbers. What will we use when this is over?
We'll use the debt of every person in this room. They'll owe us, and that'll be enough.
The constable arrived, the dismantling order in his hand, his boots heavy on the snowy step. But when the door opened, the heat and the crowd made him freeze.
You'll have to drag us out before we let you tear down this wall.
Reeves, my wife is sick. We've got nothing left.
Then bring them in. Even the smith who called me a fool can't be left to freeze.
As Harold's wife and children sank before the fire, the coal pile in the corner grew smaller, less than a week's worth of warmth, and nothing coming to replace it.
The council will come back. The law hasn't changed. How long can we do this?
The fire had never died, but now it asked a harder question than ever. Could one man's stubbornness outlast both the winter and the law that sought to extinguish it? Before dawn, the constable returned with a magistrate and 3 deputies, their warrants crackling in the frozen air.
You can't dismantle it. There are children inside, families.
The magistrate lifted the paper, his voice flat. We have orders to confiscate the flue and seal the wall. Any who resist will be charged.
Then charge us all. I won't let my son freeze because of your blind law.
I'll stand with them. This wall saved my Mary.
I was wrong about the wall. I'll testify for it.
The magistrate hesitated, the crowd's defiance louder than any gavel. But outside, the wind shifted, another blizzard rolling down the mountain. By nightfall, the last lump of coal was fed to the fire. George eyed the wooden floorboards, the rafters, all that remained of his world.
Burn it all, George. The wood, the debt, we'll find a way. Just keep the fire alive.
As the blizzard howled, George tore down his own rafters and fed them to the fire. Every swing of the axe a prayer that the storm would break before the last timber. The rafters were nearly gone, the fire guttering. Outside, the blizzard screamed like a living thing.
Only the floorboards left, and then nothing. God help us if this storm doesn't break.
Then came more pounding, not of wind, but of fists. The magistrate had returned with 4 armed deputies, their faces blued by the cold.
You want to tear down the wall? Do it after you've stopped shivering.
The magistrate, his lips blue, could only nod. He and his men stumbled inside, their authority melting in the life-saving heat.
You are giving shelter to the men who came to destroy our home?
If they freeze, we're murderers. I won't have that on my conscience, no matter what they came to do.
For the first time, the law shared the fire with the lawless, the wall standing between both and the storm.
We're all criminals tonight. Might as well keep each other alive.
The fire crackled, fed by the last of the floorboards, while the blizzard sealed them in together. The reckoning postponed, but not forgotten. At dawn, the storm broke. The magistrate and his deputies stumbled outside, blinking at the light, but before leaving, they turned to look at the wall.
You saved our lives, Reeves. I'll drop the fine and the confiscation order, but only if you dismantle that wall before sunset. One night of mercy in exchange for permanent cold. Tear it down and lose our only heat, or defy him and lose the forge.
George, if you tear down that wall, we go back to freezing. Don't do it.
I can't risk the forge. It's our livelihood. Without it, we are nothing.
He picked up the sledgehammer, its weight familiar and damning. The crowd parted in silence, their eyes fixed on the wall.
No, Reeves. You are not doing this alone. We'll fight the order in court.
We'll rebuild together. Design a flue with permits. Make it legal. It doesn't have to end like this.
The magistrate's jaw tightened. If you refuse, I'll have to arrest you, all of you. George lowered the hammer. But the cold and the law would not be defeated by a single night's mercy. And the true reckoning was just beginning.
I'll make you a deal. Let the wall stand until spring. I'll put my forge up as surety. If there's a single fire, you can take everything.
The magistrate's eyes narrowed, but the offer was too practical to dismiss. A gambler's move with a blacksmith's soul.
I'll add my own anvil to his bond. This wall saved my family. I won't stand by and watch it fall.
And I'll give my winter's savings. 20 silver pieces for any fine.
They're giving everything, just as I am. If this fails, we all lose together.
The magistrate wrote out a new decree. Wall to remain until spring thaw. Reeves' forge held as collateral. Community bond accepted.
We're gambling the forge, everything we've built, on a wall and a promise.
Does this mean we can keep the fire, Papa?
He nodded, but his eyes remained on the glowing wall, now a monument to both hope and ruin, depending on the mercy of the coming months. The fire had never died, but now it fed on more than timber. It devoured debts, promises, and the fragile hope of a village that had finally stopped mocking the man who built his house onto his forge. For 3 more nights, George did not sleep. He patrolled the wall, tested every seam, and listened for the whisper of fire like a man expecting an ambush.
George, please. Thomas needs his father. I need my husband. You are a ghost walking through your own home.
A ghost who'll keep you warm. The magistrate's men watch from the lane. They'd love to see a plume of smoke. Drafts yanked the vent flap, embers scattering like hornets. Move now, or the whole bond goes up in ash. Ada, get the sand bucket. Elias, pull the damp cloth off. No, don't smother the beam directly. You'll spread the sparks.
Stand clear. I've got the flue. It's holding. Just a stray gust from the storm.
They doused the beam, their hearts pounding against the silence that followed, a silence heavier than any gavel.
That was inches, George. Inches from the end of everything we've ever known.
Then I'll reinforce it with iron plates. Every seam, every joint. I'll turn this wall into a fortress if I have to.
And so, under a sky that still held no promise of spring, the forge burned on, fed by determination, fear, and a debt that could never be repaid in coin. The thaw came like a judgment. Water dripped from the eaves, and the magistrate returned, his boots squelching through mud instead of snow. The magistrate inspected the wall, the flue, the iron plates George had hammered on, in desperation. He found no char, no crack, no fault.
The bond is satisfied. Your forge is your own again, Reeves. The wall may stay.
I doubted it every day. But you were right. This wall saved us.
Show me how you built it. I want my own forge to warm my home before next winter.
By week's end, 3 other smiths had brought their plans, and the sound of hammering echoed not in mockery, but in imitation.
Papa, they're all building walls now. Does that mean you were right all along?
I called you a fool. Instead, you were a prophet. The fire that never died. It'll warm this village for generations.
He held up his cup, and for the first time since the cold had closed in, George felt the warmth not just from the wall, but from the people around it. The fire never truly died. It had simply passed from a single forge into the hearts of all who had once doubted. At the next town meeting, the council formally withdrew the dismantling order and commended George Reeves for his unexpected ingenuity in a time of crisis.
I only built a wall to save my family. The rest was all of you refusing to let each other freeze.
Don't forget yourself, George. You could have given up 100 times, and you never did.
Does this mean we'll never be cold again, Papa?
No, son, but we'll never face the cold alone again. That's worth more than any fire.
Reeves, I was wrong. Let me buy you a drink. Actually, let me buy the whole forge a drink.
He stood at the edge of the square, watching the smoke rise from his own chimney. No longer a mark of shame, but a monument to stubborn hope. That chimney smoked through the rest of winter and into the spring, not because it had to, but because it had become the heart of the valley.
Sometimes I think the fire knew we needed it more than we needed our fears.
He sat there until the embers dimmed, her hand in his, the weight of the winter finally loosening its grip. By late spring, 5 forges in the valley had new additions. The sound of hammering that once mocked George now echoed in imitation across the green hills.
I've got my wall up, Reeves. My wife hasn't shivered once. I owe you an apology and a lifetime of free iron.
A delegation from the mining town arrived to study his design, and George walked them through the flue with the same patience he had once used to calm his son's fears.
Papa, will you teach me to build a wall too, so I can keep our family warm someday?
Yes. But remember, a wall is nothing without the fire inside, and the fire is nothing without the people who need it.
On the first cold night of the following winter, every chimney in the valley smoked, but only the forge walls glowed with the heat of shared survival.
It's strange. I used to fear the sound of the fire. Now it sounds like my own heartbeat.
He kissed her forehead, and for the first time, the fire did not feel like a battle won, only like a promise kept.
The fire never died, Ada. It never will. Not as long as one house stands against the cold.
The Reeves forge burned through that winter, and every winter after, its warmth no longer the defiance of a single man, but the quiet, stubborn heartbeat of a town that had learned to never die. Decades passed, and the little valley changed, but the forge chimney still smoked first every winter morning. George, now silver-haired, still fed the fire each dawn, not from duty, but from a love that had outlasted every storm.
You've kept it burning for 30 winters, George. Haven't you earned a rest?
Rest. This fire is my rest. It's the sound of my family safe. I'll never let it die.
Across the room, Thomas, a man now, worked the anvil, while his own son watched, the same awe in his eyes that had once burned in Thomas's. The wall glowed as it always had, not with the heat of desperation, but with the quiet, steady warmth of a promise kept. The fire that never died now burned in 3 generations, passed not through blood, but through the stones themselves.
If I were to die tonight, the fire would still be here come morning. That is all I ever needed.
The fire never truly died, not in the forge, not in the walls, not in the hearts of the valley. He built his house onto his forge, and the fire never truly died. The forge chimney smoked for 40 more winters, long after George's hands grew too stiff to swing the hammer. Thomas tended the fire by then, his own son beside him, learning the same rhythm of bellows and stone. The wall that had nearly been torn down now warmed 3 generations. Its stones soaked with the memory of every winter survived. When strangers passed through the valley and asked about the strange house attached to the forge, the villagers smiled. They'd say, "That's the Reeves place." The fire hasn't gone out since the big freeze. Some say it never will. George and Ada, their hair as white as the snow they once feared, would sit by the wall and listen to the crackle.
It's the same sound, George, the same fire. And I'm still not tired of it.
Neither am I, because it was never just a fire. It was a promise.
He built his house onto his forge, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And in that necessity, he found a warmth that outlasted every storm, every doubt, and every voice that told him to let the fire die.